Downstreaming, to me, is the easiest way to wash 95% of your jobs. You're going to run into some jobs that you can't downstream. It's just not, it's not going to be strong enough. But for 95% of them, a $20 injector will give you all you need. And remember, 1 is none, 2 is 1. So you have more than one backup, or at least have the rebuild kits, because they do wear out and they do mess up, and you're at a customer's house, you can spend time working on your equipment if it goes down, or you can just change it, and when you get back to the shop, work on it. So make it where it's interchangeable, so you can take it out and in, and just replace it on the job and keep going. I'm not gonna say never, but you don't really want to work on your equipment at a customer's in front of their house, even though sometimes you have to. There's all you need. There's every size. It depends on what you want. Depends on your equipment. These are sized to your machine. Everybody knows that, right? If you have an 8-gallon-minute machine, the standard is to run a 2.3. However, we'll talk about that too.
Just ran across another one. It's like 0.75 for a bigger machine.
Well, these again are sized to your machine. So if you have a 10-gallon-minute machine, it calls for a 2.5. A 2.5. If you have an 8-gallon, it calls for a 2.3. A 5.5 is a 2.1. A 3 to 5 gallon minutes a 1.8. And my 5.5s, I actually run a well, not these, but one of my other trucks. I run a 1.5. I run a smaller. If you learn anything today, anything else, if you learn anything, the smaller the orifice, the smaller the number, the stronger mix you're going to pull. So the smaller the orifice inside, the stronger mix you will pull. Nope, everybody thinks opposite.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of the way they're selling them to you.
Well, a second thing to go with that. A 4-gallon-minute machine will pull a much stronger mix than a 10-gallon-minute machine.
What's the strongest I can pull out of my 10?
It depends on your setup, but I would say if you got 1.5%, you'd be doing good.
What's that?
Based on a 2.5, on a 2.5 injector. How some people get around that on as you go up in size, they run a chemical injector bypass. Okay, so what this does is when you're pulling chemical, you can run a smaller injector. So instead of running a 2.5, you can run a 2.3. Now you lose a little bit of flow and a little bit of distance while you're applying chemical, and then when you come and turn this to open it and go around it, you'll go back to full flow. You'll get 10 gallons a minute. So anybody that runs a bypass, or most people that run a bypass, mine's easier to see. Well, don't look at this, but just it's the same DN10 ball valve right here. When you're bypassing, you're going straight through. You're just bypassing the thing, and then when you close it, it forces it up and go around. So anybody that runs a bypass, or most people that run it, run a smaller injector so they can pull a stronger mix, because you're only losing it a little bit on the flow. If you didn't have the bypass and you're always going through the injector, you're actually, you're losing a lot of flow. And if you're on a 10-gallon-minute machine, I would say with a 2.3 injector, you would lose 1.5 gallons a minute. That's 90 gallons an hour. That's a lot when you're rinsing. That's a lot, or surface cleaning. It really shows up when you surface clean, because if you ever surface clean through your injector and then take the injector out, you'll see a big difference in how it, especially floaters. If you have a floater. But you can buy any size injector, and I always run a downsized injector. A 5.5 calls for a 2.1 millimeter. I run a 1.8 on these. On the other ones, I run a 1.5. I can get a much stronger mix, and then it also allows you to run a longer pressure hose also. So a lot of people max out at 200 feet and they just can't draw good. I can run 400 feet with no problem. So Any other questions on injectors? And remember, the smaller the hole, the more you're going to get. Now, the smaller you go on the bigger machines, you're going to start bogging it and you're going to lose too much, and at some point it won't even work. Okay, so my recommendation is go down one, and then every once in a while in a small situation, maybe one more just for short term, but overall, just go down one as long as you have a bypass. If you don't have a bypass, then it's going to cost you too much in flow.
For more information on this topic, please join me at my free 2-day training event November 9th and 10th in Sandestin, Florida. You can register on my website, click the banner halfway down the main page. And if you need any other information, please feel free to reach out to us. Stay humble and hustle hard, my friends.